reset here for anyone just joining us. Set the scene. How many people are you seeing and what is going on out here right now?
Yeah, so actually 2 people right now we're watching being led away in handcuffs, and while you guys were in that press conference, we saw 2 other people arrested. I'm starting to lose count, but I believe that's a total of 6 people so far that we've seen being taken away in handcuffs or being led away by ICE agents towards that fence that dead ends on Harvard Street here. This is the 25th Street entrance. This is about a block and a half around the corner from where you saw that press conference just happening. And within the last 30 seconds or a minute, we saw police and agents push back this line of protesters, and that's when the clash happened. That's when we saw several arrests take place. And then we can kind of pan over and show you this side of the street. You'll see there's now 2 different groups of protesters really being held back out of the middle of the street by Illinois State Police, who are geared up. They've got their gas masks on. There's a really big police presence out here from Broadview Police and Illinois State Police, who are trying to just keep the crowds out of the middle of the street. Again, I would say at least 5 arrests within just the last 30 minutes, especially right as we saw Customs and Border Enforcement leader Gregory Bovino come out. That's when the first arrest happened. We saw 2 immediately, another one after that. We saw 2 during that press conference, and then another 2 right now. So I think we're up to 6 or 7. Somebody count that for me. But we're watching here at the 25th Street entrance as people are chanting. They're banging on buckets. Illinois State Police now in the middle of the street. This is in the middle of the road. You're looking at this. Protesters are face to face with officers right now. Some people are holding up American flags, and just for people who haven't been to this area, who don't know what Broadview looks like, this is a residential street. There's homes on this side. We're watching a protester being led away by Illinois State Police here in the sheriff's office. People are geared up here. They're making a lot of noise. Again, really things started to escalate after we saw Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem on the roof of the facility, and after Gregory Bovino came out. There's about 150 protesters out here right now. Again, we've seen several arrests. There's a Broadview Fire Department ambulance that just came on the scene, and I do want to mention I saw Norwood Fire Department sent an ambulance here earlier as well. So a total of 2 ambulances so far here on the scene, and they're actually being directed by Illinois State Police to go towards the crowd. So I'm not sure if there's somebody injured or somebody needs medical attention. Again, this is all unfolding live right now. We're doing our best to show you exactly what is happening here. There's about 150 protesters here in the middle of the street, an incredible police presence here, state and local, and there's also federal agents here. I would say over a dozen police and state vehicles on the street right now. Again, this is a residential neighborhood, and we're about a block and a half away from the other entrance of the ICE processing facility that's on Beach Street. That's where that fence is that we saw go up, and that's where the barricades are, the concrete barriers that have designated zones for protesters. Those barriers do not exist here on this side of 25th Street. So that's why you're seeing a little bit of controlled chaos, I should say, by state police and the local police department. They're doing their best to keep people off the road in the middle of the street. Very fluid situation right now. There are digital signs actually on the street that say stay off of the street. That is the goal of local police being here. I've talked to a number of local law enforcement officials.
Yeah, so I'm curious if you have been able to,
go ahead, Jackie.
From your vantage point, we're watching another person be taken away in handcuffs right now. Have you been able to see, what the folks who are being walked away or have already been walked away in handcuffs, have they stepped across the border? What has led up to some of these arrests, if you can say anything from your vantage point?
Yeah, Jackie, it's hard to say, especially from where we're standing. We're standing, I would say, about 15 feet away from the group of protesters, and we're doing that so that we can safely report on what's happening and not get caught in this crowd. But I do believe that it's when these clashes happen, they're being given commands and orders from agents and police, and when those orders are not obeyed, that's really when we're seeing these arrests happen. I can't confirm that. I can't say for sure that's why these protesters are being arrested, but just from my experience of being out here and seeing people be detained, it's because they're getting face to face with some law enforcement officials that are trying to get people out of the street or giving them commands, and those commands are not being met. But Jackie, right now, no way to confirm. We haven't been able to see exactly why people are being detained or what is happening when those clashes are taking place. But you can see we have a shot right now of that man that's being detained. Both local Broadview police officers have him in handcuffs, and there's ICE agents surrounding him as well in camo. There's people yelling around us to let him go. Again, we are bringing this to you live, so if anybody yells any profanities, we just want to advise our viewers of that. But this is at least the 6th or 7th arrest that we've seen, again, just in the last 30 minutes.